Admiral stood in the darkness of Earth's Central Command. The massive screens in front of him showed the stars. For 200 years, humanity had spread across those stars. They built colonies on distant worlds. They raised families. They created new homes far from Earth. Tonight, those homes were dying. The first warning came from Nova Prime, humanity's largest colony. 8 billion people lived there. The message was short. Unknown ships approaching. Hundreds of them. They are not responding to our signals. They are. The message ended. The screen went black. Felt his heart stop. He was 63 years old. He had served in the fleet for 40 years. He had seen many things, but he had never seen anything like this. "Get them back," he ordered. His voice was calm, but his hands were shaking. The communication officers tried. They sent signal after signal. Nothing came back. Nova Prime was silent. Then the reports started coming from other colonies. New Sol, Station, the farming world of, one by one they went dark. The pattern was always the same. Unknown ships appeared. They did not talk. They did not warn. They simply attacked. Lieutenant ran to side. She was young, only 28. Her face was pale with fear. "Sir, we are receiving visual data from colony. They managed to send it before." She could not finish. Understood. "Show me," he said. The main screen changed. Saw colony from space. It was a beautiful world with blue oceans and green land. 3 million people called it home. Above the planet, dark shapes moved. The ships were unlike anything had seen. They were massive, black, and shaped like insects. There were hundreds of them. As watched, beams of bright light shot from the alien ships. They hit the planet's surface. Where they touched, everything burned. Cities turned to ash in seconds. Oceans boiled. The green land became black and dead. The video lasted 4 minutes. By the end, colony was gone, not conquered, not damaged, gone. The planet was a burned rock floating in space. Could not speak. Around him, officers were crying. Some were screaming. Some just stared at the screen with empty eyes. "How many?" finally asked. His voice was barely a whisper. Checked her data with trembling hands. 12 colonies, sir, all destroyed. The total population was. Tell me. 14 billion people, sir, all dead. 14 billion. The number was too big to understand. It was more than the entire population of Earth. In less than 3 days, these aliens had killed more humans than all the wars in history combined. Closed his eyes. He thought of his daughter. She lived on Nova Prime with her husband and 2 children. His little Minu was only 5, had just turned 3. They were gone, all of them, burned to nothing by creatures that did not even try to speak first. When opened his eyes, something had changed inside him. The shock was still there. The grief was still there. But now there was something else. Something cold and hard and dark. Rage. "Do we know who they are?" he asked. Captain stepped forward. He was the head of intelligence. "We captured some of their communications, sir. We cannot understand their language yet, but we have a name. They call themselves the..." The repeated. He would remember that name. Every human would remember that name. "Sir, what do we do?" asked. Her voice was breaking. "How do we fight something like this?" Looked at the young lieutenant. He saw the fear in her eyes. He saw it in everyone's eyes. They had shown their power. They could destroy worlds. What could humanity do against that? But also saw something else. Behind the fear there was anger. These people had lost friends, family, entire worlds. They were scared, yes, but they were also furious. "We fight," said. "We fight until we win or until we are all dead. There is no other choice." He turned to face the entire command center. Hundreds of officers looked at him. They needed hope. They needed direction. They needed someone to tell them that humanity would survive. "Listen to me," said. His voice grew stronger. "They have made a terrible mistake. They think they can destroy us. They think we will run and hide and beg for mercy. They are wrong." He pointed at the screen. which still showed the burning ruins of colony. They do not know what they have done. They do not know what humans are capable of when we are pushed. They killed our children, our parents, our friends. They burned our homes. They thought this would make us weak. His voice became ice cold. It has made us strong, stronger than we have ever been. The wanted war. They will get war, but not the kind they expected. We will not stop until every single one of them is dead. We will hunt them across the galaxy. We will find their worlds, and we will show them what humanity does to those who hurt our people. The command center was silent. Then slowly officers began to stand. Their tears dried. Their fear became determination. They had lost everything. Now they had nothing left to lose. Stood straight and saluted. "What are your orders, Admiral?" Looked at the stars on the screen. Somewhere out there they were celebrating. They thought the war was over. They thought humanity was broken. They were wrong. "Contact every military base on Earth," ordered. "Contact every government, every factory, every scientist. Tell them what happened. Tell them we are going to war. Not a war for land or money or power. A war for survival. A war for revenge." He paused and took a deep breath. "The killed 14 billion humans today. They will pay for every single life. I do not care how long it takes. I do not care how many ships they have. We will find them, and we will make them wish they had never heard of Earth." The officers moved with new purpose. Messages flew across the planet. The word spread like fire. In every country, in every city, people heard the news. They learned about the colonies. They learned about and they learned that Earth was going to answer. That night, Admiral stood alone by the window of his office. He looked at the moon. His had loved the moon. Little Minu always pointed at it and laughed. Did not cry. He had no tears left. He had only one thing left inside him. A promise. "I will find them," he whispered to the stars. "I will find them and I will make them pay. For Minu, for all of them." The war had not yet begun, but in that moment they had already lost. They just did not know it yet. Earth was awake, and Earth was angry. General walked into the United Earth Council chamber. She was 51 years old with short gray hair and sharp eyes. She had fought in 3 border wars. She had led troops on 4 different planets, but today was different. Today, she carried the weight of humanity on her shoulders. The chamber was full. Leaders from every nation sat in their seats. Presidents, prime ministers, kings and queens, they had all come. For the first time in human history, every country was represented in one room. Looked at their faces. She saw fear. She saw anger. She saw confusion. 3 days ago, they had been arguing about trade and borders. Now those arguments seemed foolish. They had shown them what real problems looked like. "Thank you for coming," said. Her voice echoed in the massive chamber. "I know you have seen the reports. I know you have questions. I will answer what I can." A man in the front row raised his hand. He was the president of the Western Alliance. "General, is it true? Are all 12 colonies really destroyed?" "Yes," said simply. 14 billion people are dead. The colonies no longer exist." The room erupted in noise. People shouted questions. Some cried. Others demanded answers, waited until they grew quiet again. "They did this in 72 hours, she continued. "They did not send warnings. They did not ask for surrender. They came and they killed everyone. Men, women, children. They did not care." A woman stood up. She was the leader of the Eastern Federation. "What do they want? Why did they attack us?" "We do not know yet," admitted. "We have captured some of their signals. Our scientists are trying to understand their language, but their actions tell us enough. They want us dead, all of us." "Then what do we do?" another leader asked. "How can we fight something so powerful?" Stepped forward. This was the moment she had prepared for. This was why she was here. "We fight together," she said. "Not as separate nations, not as enemies who sometimes cooperate. We fight as one species, one people, one army." The chamber fell silent. The idea was radical. Nations had always competed with each other. They had fought wars over land and resources. The thought of truly uniting seemed impossible. But continued. They do not see us as different countries, they see us as humans. They want to kill all of us. Not just one nation, all of us. If we fight alone, we will die alone. If we fight together, we have a chance. An old king raised his hand. His country had been enemies with his neighbors for centuries. You ask us to forget our differences, our history, our conflicts. Yes, said. I ask you to choose survival over pride. They will not spare your kingdom because you stayed neutral. They will not care about your history. They will burn your cities the same way they burned Nova Prime. She pulled up images on the main screen. They showed the destruction of the colonies. Buildings turned to dust. Oceans boiled away. Entire planets left as dead rocks. This is what they do, said. This is what they will do to Earth if we do not stop them. Every person in this room will die. Your families will die. Your countries will become ash, unless we work together. The leaders looked at the images. They saw the horror. They understood that was right. Their old fights did not matter anymore. Only survival mattered. The president of the Western Alliance stood up. My country will join. We will share our technology, our weapons, our soldiers, whatever Earth needs. One by one, other leaders rose. They made the same promise. Old enemies shook hands. Countries that had not spoken in decades agreed to cooperate. By the end of the hour, every nation on Earth had joined together. Felt a small spark of hope. It was the first good news in days. Now, she said, we must prepare. Admiral is gathering our military forces, but we need more than ships and soldiers. We need everything. She outlined her plan. It was massive. It would change every part of human society. Factories that built cars would now build weapons. Companies that made phones would make communication devices for soldiers. Farms would increase production to feed a wartime population. Schools would teach young people how to fight. Every person has a role, explained. Scientists will develop new weapons. Engineers will build new ships. Doctors will prepare for wounded soldiers. Even children can help by learning and preparing for the future. A young leader raised his hand. How long will this take? How long before we can fight back? Had thought about this question many times. The honest answer was not encouraging. They were powerful. Their technology was advanced. Humanity needed time to catch up. Years, she said. Maybe a decade. We must be patient. We must be smart. We cannot rush into battle and lose. We must prepare properly. Years, someone shouted. What if they attack Earth before then? They might, admitted. But our intelligence suggests they are far away. They destroyed our colonies and left. Perhaps they think we are no longer a threat. Perhaps they have other enemies. We do not know, but we will use whatever time we have. The meeting continued for many hours. Leaders discussed details. They argued about how to share resources. They made plans and backup plans. By the end, humanity had its first unified war council. Walked out of the chamber feeling exhausted but determined. She had done her part. Now the real work began. Over the next months, Earth transformed. The changes were visible everywhere. In Korea, the old military bases expanded. New training centers opened. Young men and women lined up to join the army. They did not need to be convinced. They had seen the images of the destroyed colonies. They wanted revenge. Sergeant was one of the trainers. He had served for 20 years. He had never seen recruits so motivated. They trained for extra hours without being asked. They pushed themselves harder than any soldiers before them. Why do you fight so hard? Asked a young woman named one day. Looked at him with cold eyes. My sister lived on New Seoul. She had a baby, 2 months old. They killed them both. I will not rest until every single alien is dead. Nodded, he understood. Almost everyone had lost someone. The pain united them more than any speech could. In laboratories around the world, scientists worked without rest. Doctor led a team developing new weapons. They studied the videos of the attacks. They analyzed every detail. Their ships have strong shields, explained to his team. Our normal weapons will not work. We need something new, something powerful enough to break through. His team worked for months. They failed many times, but they did not give up. Failure was not an option. The fate of humanity depended on their success. Finally, they made a breakthrough. A new type of weapon that combined nuclear power with focused energy beams. Tests showed it could damage even the strongest shields. "It works," whispered, staring at the results. Tears ran down his face. "We have a chance." News of the breakthrough spread quickly. It gave people hope. Other teams made discoveries too. Better armor, faster engines, smarter computers. Piece by piece, humanity built the tools it needed. The factories worked day and night. Ships took shape in massive construction yards. They were different from the old ships, bigger, stronger, designed for one purpose only: killing. Admiral visited the factories often. He watched the ships being built. Each one brought humanity closer to its goal. Each one was a promise to the 14 billion dead. "Beautiful, are they not?" he said to during one visit. Watched a massive battleship being assembled. Workers moved like ants around it, each doing their part. "They are weapons of war," she replied. "There is no beauty in that." "Perhaps," agreed, "but there is beauty in what they represent. Humanity refusing to die, humanity fighting back. That is beautiful." Did not argue. She understood what he meant. The ships were more than metal and weapons. They were humanity's answer to this attack. They were proof that humans would not go quietly into the darkness. 5 years passed. Earth was no longer the same planet. It had become a fortress, a weapon. Every resource was devoted to the war. Every person had a purpose. Finally, the day came. The first fleet was ready. 100 warships, each carrying the best weapons and the bravest soldiers humanity had ever produced. Admiral stood before them. General was at his side. "Today we begin our answer," announced. "The thought they destroyed us. They were wrong. We are not destroyed. We are transformed. We are united, and we are coming for them." The soldiers cheered. The ships powered up. The engines roared. Earth's revenge had begun. Commander stood on the bridge of the warship Vengeance. Through the main window he could see 99 other ships flying beside him. The first Vengeance fleet, 100 vessels carrying 50,000 soldiers, all of them ready to die, all of them ready to kill. Was 40 years old. Before the attack he had been a simple patrol captain. He flew small ships and watched for pirates. His life was quiet, boring even. Then the came. His wife and son had been visiting her parents on station. They never came home. "Commander, we are entering space," his navigation officer reported. Her name was, she was young but her eyes were old. Everyone's eyes were old now. "Good," said, "begin scanning for enemy ships." The fleet moved deeper into unknown territory. For 5 years, human spies and probes had gathered information. They knew where they lived. They knew their patrol routes. They knew their weak points. Humanity had learned everything it could before attacking. Now it was time to use that knowledge. "Contact," the sensor officer said. His name was Patrol 3 ships. They have not seen us yet. Smiled. It was not a happy smile. It was the smile of a hunter finding prey. "Battle stations," he ordered calmly. "All ships prepare to attack." The fleet spread out into attack formation. The ships were small, meant for patrol and scanning. They were not built for real combat. They had no idea what was coming. Fire commanded. 100 human ships opened fire at once. Bright beams of energy shot through space. The new weapons, developed by Doctor's team, worked perfectly. They cut through shields like knives through paper. The 3 patrol ships exploded in seconds. They did not even have time to send a warning. One moment they existed. The next, they were scattered pieces floating in the void. Targets destroyed, reported. Cheers erupted across the bridge. It was humanity's first victory against the small, yes, only 3 ships, but it proved something important that could be killed. Allowed himself a moment of satisfaction. Then he focused again. This was just the beginning. Continue forward, he ordered. We have more work to do. Over the next weeks, the first Vengeance fleet cut a path through space. They attacked patrols. They destroyed supply stations. They burned military bases. Every battle was a victory. They were shocked. They had conquered many species before. None had ever fought back like this. The races they defeated had been peaceful. They surrendered. They begged for mercy. Humans did neither. Lieutenant Sara led a boarding team onto a captured station. She was 24 years old. Before the war, she had wanted to be a teacher. Now she carried a rifle and wore armor. The station was full of aliens. They were tall, with gray skin and large black eyes. They had 4 arms and moved like insects. Looking at them, Sara felt nothing but hatred. Her team moved through the station, room by room. Any they found, they killed. There were no prisoners. There was no mercy. This was not a normal war. This was extermination. In one room, Sara found something that made her stop. Screens covered the walls. On them were images of human colonies. They had recorded their attacks. They had saved the videos like trophies. Sara watched as New Soul burned. She saw families running and dying. She saw children crying for their parents. They had killed them all and kept the recordings for entertainment. Burn this place, Sara said quietly. Her voice shook with rage. Burn everything. Her team planted explosives throughout the station. When they left, it exploded behind them. A ball of fire in the darkness of space. Justice for the dead. Word of humanity's attacks spread across the empire. For the first time, they felt fear. They had never lost before. They did not know how to lose, and these humans were not stopping. Admiral received reports back on Earth. He read them carefully. The first Vengeance fleet had destroyed 47 ships. They had killed thousands of aliens. Human losses were minimal. They are learning, said to General. They are starting to fight back harder. It does not matter, replied. We have more fleets ready. We will send wave after wave until they are all dead. She was right. The second Vengeance fleet launched 2 months later, then the third, then the fourth. Each fleet was larger than the last. Each one pushed deeper into territory. Commander became famous. Stories of his victories spread across Earth. Children played games pretending to be him. Adults spoke his name with respect. He was the tip of humanity's spear. But did not feel like a hero. He felt empty. Killing did not bring his wife and son back. Nothing would bring them back. All he could do was make sure other families did not suffer the same loss. One night he sat alone in his quarters. He looked at a picture of his family. His wife smiled at the camera. His son was laughing at some joke. They looked so happy, so alive. I am doing this for you, whispered. All of it for you. The picture did not answer. It never did. A knock came at his door. It was Lieutenant Sara. She had proven herself in battle and become one of his trusted officers. Commander, we have found something, she said. Her voice was excited. A communication center. It contains data about their empire, all their planets, all their fleets, everything. Stood up immediately. This was important. With that information, humanity could plan better attacks. They could find the... Show me, he said. They went to the intelligence room. Technicians were already working on the captured data. Screens showed maps of space. Red dots marked their colonies. Blue lines showed their supply routes. There are more of them than we thought, a technician named reported. They have over 200 colonies. Their total population is about 100 billion. 100 billion. The number was enormous, but did not feel discouraged. He felt determined. 100 billion enemies meant 100 billion deaths. Humanity would deliver every single one. And there asked, pointed to a spot on the map. It was deep in territory, heavily defended, the heart of their empire. There, she said, they call it the Prime Nest. It is where their leaders live, where their species began. Stared at the location. Somewhere in his chest, a cold fire burned. That was where he needed to go. That was where this war would end. Send this data to Earth, he ordered. Admiral needs to see it. The information traveled across space. When received it, he gathered his war council. They studied the maps for hours. They made plans. They calculated how many ships and soldiers would be needed. It will take everything we have, said. Every fleet, every weapon, every soldier. Then we will give everything, replied. This is what we have been working toward, the chance to end this. Back with the first Vengeance fleet continued his campaign. His fleet attacked larger and larger targets. They destroyed entire colonies. They left nothing alive. They tried to negotiate. They sent messages offering peace. They said they would leave humanity alone if the attack stopped. Did not even respond. There could be no peace. Not after what they had done. Not ever. Other alien species watched the war with fear and fascination. They had been conquered by the long ago. They lived as slaves, serving their masters. Now they saw those masters being hunted. Some of these species began to help humanity. They shared information about weaknesses. They sabotaged enemy ships. They rose up against their oppressors. The war was spreading. What started as human revenge became a galactic revolution. Species that had been silent for centuries found their voices. They wanted freedom. They wanted the dead just as much as humans did. Welcomed their help, but he did not trust them completely. Humans had learned a hard lesson. The galaxy was dangerous. Other species could not be fully trusted, but if they wanted to kill, they could be useful. Commander, we have a new target, reported one day. A military base, heavily defended, but it sits on the route to the Prime Nest. Studied the base. Taking it would open a path to the enemy. It would also cost many lives. The defenses were strong. The battle would be brutal. He did not hesitate. Prepare for attack, he ordered. We move in 6 hours. His crew did not complain. They knew the risks. They accepted them. Every person on these ships had lost someone to the. They were all willing to die to finish this war. 6 hours later, the first Vengeance fleet attacked. The battle lasted 2 days. Ships exploded on both sides. Thousands died. But in the end, humanity won. The base fell. The path to the Prime Nest was open. Stood on his bridge, looking at the burning remains of the enemy base. 30 of his ships were destroyed. 15,000 humans were dead. But they had won. Report to Admiral, said tiredly. Tell him the road is clear. We can reach there. He looked out at the stars. Somewhere beyond them was the Prime Nest. Somewhere was the heart of the species that had killed his family. Soon, very soon, he would be there, and he would burn it all. Captain flew her small scout ship through enemy territory. She was alone. Scout pilots always worked alone. It was safer that way. One small ship was harder to detect than a fleet. Was 32 years old. She had joined the military right after the attack. Her entire family had lived on Earth, so she had not lost anyone in the colony destruction. But she had watched the recordings. She had seen the horror. That was enough. Her mission was simple: find the exact location of the Prime Nest. The captured data had given them the general area, but there was hidden behind layers of defenses and false signals. Someone needed to get close and find the truth. That someone was. She had been flying for 3 weeks, dodging patrols, hiding in asteroid fields, slipping through gaps in the enemy sensors. It was exhausting work. One mistake would mean death. But was good at her job. The best, some said. She had completed 27 missions without being caught. This would be 28. Her sensors beeped softly. Something was ahead. Reduced her speed and studied the readings. A massive energy signature, bigger than anything she had ever seen. "Found you," she whispered. She moved closer, staying behind a small moon for cover. From there, she could see the prime nest with her own eyes. It was a planet, but like nothing she had imagined. The entire surface was covered in structures. Buildings rose miles into the sky. Ships flew in constant streams around it. Billions of lived there, maybe hundreds of billions. It was not just it was a hive, a nest, the heart of an empire. Recorded everything: the planet's exact location, its defenses, the number and types of ships protecting it. Every detail could be important. As she watched, she noticed something strange. The ships were not attacking outward. They were gathered around the planet, protecting it. They were scared. Humanity's attacks had worked. They were no longer hunting. They were hiding, defending. They knew humans were coming. Smiled grimly. Good. Let them feel fear. Let them know what it was like to wait for death. She finished her recordings and began her journey home. It took another 3 weeks, but she made it safely. When she arrived at the main fleet, she was taken directly to Admiral. Looked older than before. The years of war had worn him down, but his eyes still burned with determination. "Show me," he said. Played her recordings on the main screen. The War Council watched in silence. They saw the prime nest in all its terrible size. They saw the defenses. They understood the challenge ahead. "It will be difficult," General said. "We have never attacked anything this large." "We have no choice," replied. "This is where we end it. If we destroy the prime nest, we destroy their entire species lives there." It was true. They were not like humans. They did not spread evenly across their empire. Most of their population stayed on their colonies were mostly military bases and resource-gathering stations. Kill the prime nest and they would be finished. "How many ships do we have?" asked. Commander stepped forward. He had been called back from the front for this meeting. 500 warships ready to fight. 200 more can be prepared within a month, plus the ships from our alien allies. The allied species had grown during the war. Other races that hated had joined humanity's cause. They provided ships, soldiers, and information. Together, the alliance was stronger than ever. 700 ships, calculated. Against their defenses, it might not be enough. "Then we will have to be smart," said. "We will plan carefully, find weaknesses, strike where they do not expect." The planning took months. Every detail was examined, every possibility considered. They were not foolish. They would fight hard to protect their home. Humanity needed a perfect plan. During this time, something unexpected happened. They sent a message. Received it on a normal day. He was reviewing battle reports when a communication officer rushed in. "Admiral, we have a signal from they want to talk." Was surprised. They had never communicated before. Not really. They had sent surrender demands during their original attack, but actual dialogue, never. "What do they want?" he asked. "They want peace, sir." The word hit like a physical blow. Peace. The wanted peace. After killing 14 billion humans, after burning 12 worlds, now they wanted peace. "Play the message," he ordered. The screen showed a leader. It was tall and wore golden ornaments on its body. When it spoke, its voice was translated into human language by computers. "Humans," the alien said, "we are the High Council of we wish to end this conflict. You have proven yourselves as warriors. We were wrong to attack your colonies. We will leave your remaining worlds alone. We will give you territory, resources, whatever you want. Just stop this war." The message ended, stared at the screen for a long time. Around him, officers waited for his response. Peace, real peace. They could have it. The war could end today. No more death, no more fighting. Humanity could go back to normal life. But thought of Nova Prime. He thought of his daughter and burned to ash by weapons. He thought of the 14 billion souls crying out for justice. "No," he said quietly. "Sir," the communication officer asked. Stood up, his voice grew stronger. "Record my response." The cameras turned on, faced them directly. He knew his words would be heard by the entire race. He wanted them to understand perfectly. "This is Admiral of the United Earth Fleet," he began. "We have received your offer of peace. We reject it." He paused, letting the words sink in. "You ask us to stop fighting. You offer us territory and resources. You think these things can buy forgiveness. You are wrong." His voice turned to ice. 12 years ago, you killed 14 billion humans. You destroyed our colonies without warning. You burned our cities. You murdered our families. You did not ask for peace then. You did not offer mercy. You showed us what you truly are. Leaned forward. "You taught us extinction. We learned well. Now we will teach you." He pointed at the camera. "You will not buy peace with gifts. There is only one thing we want: your complete destruction, every ship, every station, every planet, every single in existence. We will not stop until your species is a memory, until children ask what you were and adults struggle to remember." His final words were spoken like a death sentence. "You started this war. We will end it, with your deaths. That is our answer. That is the only answer humanity will ever give." The message was sent. Across the galaxy, leaders heard it. They had hoped humans could be reasoned with. They had hoped their offer would work. Now they knew the truth. There would be no peace. There would be no negotiation. There would only be war until one species was completely destroyed. General watched the message with. When it ended, she looked at him. "That was harsh," she said. "It was honest," replied. "They needed to understand. Everyone needed to understand. We are not fighting for territory or power. We are fighting to erase them from existence. There is no middle ground." Nodded slowly. The troops will be pleased. They did not want peace either. It was true. When humanity heard its response, they cheered. Soldiers who had been fighting for years felt validated. Scientists who had built weapons felt purpose. Families who had lost loved ones felt hope. Peace was not victory. Only total destruction was victory, had spoken what everyone felt. Back at the Prime Nest, the High Council met in emergency session. Their peace offer had failed. The humans were coming. There was nothing left to do but fight. "We have defenses," one council member said. "Our fleet is still strong. We can stop them." "Can we?" another asked. "We have never faced enemies like this. They do not surrender, they do not negotiate, they simply destroy." Fear filled the council chamber. These beings had ruled the galaxy for thousands of years. They had conquered hundreds of species. Now, for the first time, they faced extinction. "We will fight to the last," the High Leader declared. "We will make them pay for every step they take toward our world. If we must die, we will die as warriors." The council agreed. There was no other choice. They had created this war. Now they would face its end. Captain was promoted for her successful mission. She became commander and received her own fleet to lead. She had proven herself brave and smart. Now she would be part of the final attack. "Are you ready?" Admiral asked her before she left for her new position. Thought about the question. Was she ready to kill billions of beings? Was she ready to wipe out an entire species? "Yes," she said without hesitation. "They chose this path. They made humanity into what we are now. They deserve everything we are going to do." Saw the coldness in her eyes. It was the same coldness in everyone's eyes these days. They had burned away human compassion. What was left was hard and sharp and merciless. In some ways, they had already killed humanity. The kind and trusting species that had first gone to the stars was gone. In its place was something new, something that would never forgive, never forget. "Good," said. "We launch in 1 month. Make sure your fleet is ready." Saluted and left. Outside, ships were gathering. The largest fleet in human history was forming. 700 warships, thousands of fighter craft, millions of soldiers. All of them pointed at one target, the prime nest, the heart of the... The end was coming. Both sides knew it. There would be no more negotiations, no more offers of peace. Only one species would survive this war. Humanity intended to make sure it was them. The human fleet arrived at the prime nest on a day that would be remembered forever. 732 warships dropped out of faster-than-light travel. They appeared in perfect formation around the... Behind them came thousands of smaller ships, support vessels, troop carriers, medical ships, everything humanity needed for the final battle. Admiral stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Earth's Memory. The name was chosen carefully. They were here to remember what they had done, and to make sure they remembered too. "All ships report ready," General announced. She was beside him as she had been throughout the war. They had started this fight together. They would finish it together. Looked at the prime nest through the main window. It was enormous. A planet covered in alien civilization. Towers reached into space. Ships swarmed around it like insects protecting a hive. It was beautiful in a terrible way. "How many defenders?" asked. "Approximately 400 warships," Commander reported from his position leading the attack fleet, plus thousands of smaller craft and the planetary defense systems. They had prepared well. They knew humanity was coming. They had gathered every ship they had left, every weapon, every soldier. This was their final stand. But humanity had prepared better. For 12 years they had built and trained and planned. Everything led to this moment. "All ships," announced over the fleet-wide channel. His voice reached every human soldier, every pilot, every captain. "This is Admiral. You know why we are here. You know what we lost. 14 billion of our people, 12 worlds, families, friends, children." He paused, letting the weight of memory settle. "The thought they could destroy us. They thought we would scatter and die. They were wrong. We are here. We are strong, and today we end this." A roar of agreement came from the fleet. Every ship responded. The sound was like thunder in space. "There will be no surrender," continued. "No mercy, no prisoners. We came here to do one thing, erase them from existence. That is our mission. That is our justice, for the dead, for Earth, for humanity." He raised his hand. "All ships attack." The battle began. Human ships surged forward, weapons fired. The darkness of space lit up with explosions. They responded with everything they had. Their ships were strong. Their weapons were powerful, but they were outnumbered, outmatched, and fighting enemies who had nothing to lose. Commander led the main assault. His ship, the Vengeance, cut through enemy formations. Behind him came 100 more vessels, each one carrying years of anger and pain. "Target their command ships," ordered. "Break their coordination." The fleet obeyed. Human weapons, designed specifically to destroy shields, proved deadly. Enemy ships exploded one after another. The space around the prime nest became a graveyard of broken vessels. But they fought hard. They knew this was the end. They had nowhere to run. A human cruiser took a direct hit and exploded. Then another. Pilots died by the hundreds. The battle was brutal. Commander led her fleet against the planetary defenses. Massive weapons were built into the surface of the prime nest. They fired into space, trying to destroy the human fleet. Each blast could destroy a ship in one hit. "Bombers forward," ordered. "Target the defense platforms." Small, fast ships dove toward the planet. Anti-aircraft fire tried to stop them, but many got through. They dropped their weapons on the defense systems. Explosions rippled across the surface of the prime nest. One by one, the planetary weapons went silent, watched with grim satisfaction. They were losing their teeth. The battle lasted for 3 days. 3 days of constant fighting. Both sides lost heavily. 200 human ships were destroyed. 50,000 soldiers died, but they lost more, much more. By the end of the third day, the fleet was gone, every ship destroyed. The space around the prime nest was filled with debris. Nothing moved except human vessels. Admiral looked at the planet below. The surface was damaged from the fighting, but most of it remained intact. Billions of still lived there. The war was not over yet. "Ground forces," he ordered, "begin landing." Troop ships descended through the atmosphere. They carried soldiers ready to fight building by building if necessary. But something unexpected happened. They did not resist. Lieutenant Sara was among the first to land. She led her squad through the alien city with weapons ready. They expected ambushes, traps, desperate defenders. Instead, they found silence. Stood in the streets watching the humans. They did not attack, they did not run, they just waited. "What is happening?" one of Sora's soldiers asked. "Why are they not fighting?" Sora did not know. She had prepared for combat. She had prepared to die. She had not prepared for this. Approached her. It was smaller than the warriors they had fought in space. Perhaps a civilian. It spoke, and her translator converted the words. "We surrender," the alien said. "Kill us and end this. We are tired." Sora stared at the creature. For years she had dreamed of killing. She had imagined the satisfaction, the justice. But now, looking at this sad, defeated being, she felt nothing. "Why did you attack us?" she asked. "Why did you destroy our colonies?" They made a gesture that might have been a shrug. "We feared you. Humans spread so fast, built so many colonies. We thought you would become a threat. We tried to stop you before you became strong. We were wrong. You were already stronger than we knew." Sara thought about this. Fear. They had killed 14 billion humans because of fear. It seemed so pointless, so stupid. "You made us into your worst nightmare," she said. "We were peaceful. We just wanted to explore and grow. You made us into killers." The bowed its head. "Yes, we created our own destruction. It is fitting." Sara raised her weapon. For a moment she hesitated. This was not a warrior. This was just a frightened creature waiting to die. Then she remembered her sister, her baby niece, burned to ash on New Soul. She remembered the recordings, the screaming, the death. She pulled the trigger. Across the prime nest, similar scenes played out. Some fought and were killed. Most surrendered and were killed anyway. Human soldiers moved through the planet like a wave of death. No building was left unsearched. No hiding place overlooked. General commanded the ground operation from orbit. She received reports hour by hour. The numbers climbed, millions of dead, then billions. "Some of the allied species are asking us to stop," an officer reported. "They say we have won. They want us to show mercy." Shook her head. "We did not come here for victory. We came here for extinction. Continue the operation." The allies protested, but they did not interfere. They knew better than to stand between humanity and its revenge. It took weeks to sweep the entire planet. There were so many places to search, but the human soldiers were patient. They had waited 12 years for this. They could wait a little longer. Admiral spent most of this time on his ship. He watched the progress reports. He saw the death counts rise. He should have felt satisfied, triumphant. Instead, he felt empty. Visited him one evening. The commander looked as tired as felt. "We found their archives," said. "Records of every species they conquered, every war they fought. And humanity was the first to fight back. The others just gave up, accepted death or slavery. We were different." Nodded slowly. "We had more to lose, or perhaps less to lose. When they killed our people, they took everything from us. What did we have left but revenge?" Sat down heavily. "Do you think we did the right thing, killing them all?" Considered the question. He had asked himself the same thing many times. "I do not know," he admitted. "But I know we could not have done anything else. Not after what they did. Maybe in 100 years people will judge us harshly. Maybe they will say we became monsters, but they did not live through it. They did not lose what we lost." was silent for a moment. Then he asked, "What do we do now after this is finished?" "We go home," said. "We try to remember how to be human again. It will not be easy. We have spent so long being weapons. Learning to be people again will take time." The final report came 3 weeks later. The prime nest was cleared. Every was dead. The species that had ruled the galaxy for thousands of years was gone. General gave the final order: burn the planet. Orbital weapons fired. The surface of the prime nest turned to molten rock. The towers collapsed. The cities became ash. Everything the had built was destroyed. When it was over, addressed the fleet one last time. "It is done," he said. "They are gone, our dead are avenged, we have won." But there was no cheering this time. The soldiers were too tired, too changed. Victory felt like exhaustion, like grief, like the end of a long, terrible dream. "We go home now," continued. "We rebuild. We remember what we lost and what we did. The galaxy will never be the same. We will never be the same, but we survived. We won, and humanity will continue." The fleet turned away from the burning planet. Ships that had carried death now carried weary soldiers home. They left behind them a dead world and a dead species. The war was over. Humanity had won. But standing on his bridge, watching the stars pass by, Admiral did not feel like a victor. He felt like a survivor of something terrible. In his pocket was a picture: a young woman and two small children laughing at the camera. Minu, gone forever. He had kept his promise. He had made them pay. But no amount of alien blood could fill the emptiness inside him. Nothing could bring his family back. Nothing could undo what had been done. Sat down heavily in his command chair. Around him, officers quietly prepared for the journey home. No one spoke. There was nothing to say. Outside the window, the stars shone coldly. Somewhere behind them, the prime nest burned. Ahead was Earth, home. The Alien Extermination War was over. Humanity stood victorious among the stars. But the silence in Admiral's heart would never go away. It would stay with him and with all of humanity forever. A reminder of what they had lost, what they had become, and what they had done to survive. The galaxy had learned a lesson it would never forget: never wake a sleeping Earth. The price of that lesson was paid in fire and blood by those who dared try.